Well, good evening. It is 6:30, and we want to welcome everyone to our Live Wise, Live Healthy community engagement series. And we definitely want to thank Parent University for partnering with us in this endeavor. And as you may know, every month we have a different focus in our Live Wise, Live Healthy efforts. And so this month is drug and violence prevention. And so we had the opportunity to share some parent information about drug education last week, and are really excited to share with you some items about cyberbullying and cyber safety and just keeping our kids safe. And so before I go any further, I'm going to turn it over to Miguel to give our Spanish speaking audience instructions on how to have access to Spanish interpretation. Miguel?
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We really appreciate you taking a little bit of your time to come and listen to some of this wonderful information that we've got for you. So I really want to thank you. And always stay tuned for just upcoming sessions that are going to, come that we're going to bring to you to, to continue to help support our students and, help them succeed. So we appreciate you. So we do have interpretation assistance, and so I'm just going to give some instruction as to how we access that. So to access interpretation, what you'll do is hover at the bottom of the page, at the bottom of the screen, and you'll see a menu that opens up. In that menu, you'll see a little globe, a little circle globe pick, and you'll just hover over that, and it's going to open up that option, and you select the language, and you're ready to go. You'll hear that interpretation in that language. Solo que, hola, me llamo Miguel Benítez, y nomás les quería dar las gracias por venir y, bueno, oír esta presentación. Estamos muy agradecidos con ustedes que tomaron un poquito de su tiempo para oír esta información. Siempre estén al tanto de lo que vamos a dar, la información que vamos a dar para poder ayudar a usted y a sus hijos a tener el éxito académico. Pero ahorita les voy a, a enseñar un poco a cómo tener acceso a la interpretación. Solo que lo que va a hacer con el mouse, va a colocarlo abajo de la pantalla y ahí se va a abrir un menú. En el menú se va a abrir como un globito, un círculo. Allí es donde usted va a poner su mouse. Entonces, eso va a abrir la opción. Cuando vea la opción en español, nomás hágale clic y va a poder oír la interpretación en español. Solo que, gracias, thank you, and Suzanne, turning it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, as I stated before, we are here to talk about cyberbullying and cyber safety. And I just want to welcome you. My name is Suzanne Chichulis, and I have the privilege of being the Director for Prevention Programming for Richardson ISD. And also joining me in the presentation is Stephanie Ledgerwood, sorry, Stephanie. And she is with Richardson Police Department. She is actually a school resource officer at Apollo Junior High, and is a wonderful advocate for our students. She's going to tell you a little bit more about herself in just a moment, but she has been providing services to students and families in RSD for the last 13 plus years. So thank you, Stephanie, for being a part of our evening this evening. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I kind of have a question for all of us. And I'm sorry I can't see your faces on the other end of the screen, but I wanted us to start out thinking about why are we so attracted to technology. So I'm sure if I ask you, if you have your cell phone next to you, you could probably reach for it just like I have mine, because somehow we have become so attached and attracted to our technology. But when I think about my attraction to technology, it helps me stay in connection with my family and my friends. It's a way for me to retrieve information quickly. It actually helps me stay organized because my email and my calendar is on there. My alarms are on there. So there's all kinds of things that I do with my technology that really helps to improve my daily life. So when we think about our attraction for technology, I want us to think also about our students and how our children now are growing up in an age where they don't know anything but being around technology. I happen to be the parent of 3 children ranging from ages of 19, 26, and 30. And so I can tell you that my parenting has not always involved technology. But with that being said, this is part of our parenting now. And so just thinking about the things that we do with technology, the places that we go with technology, does possibly present some challenges to us as parents, and how to not only manage and maneuver this ourselves, but also equip and empower our students to do the same and be safe, because we know that technology can be used for good. We know that it enhances our lives, but we also know that there are some dangers, and there's some preparation that we need to really empower our students to have to be able to use technology safely. So as we look at the ways that we use technology and the places that we go on the web, like I said, it does present some unique parenting challenges that parents maybe prior to this day and age did not have. Now we know that our children don't come with instruction manuals, so there's always been parenting challenges, but it does seem that technology has just changed those challenges a little bit. So I'm actually going to start off by giving Stephanie an opportunity really to kind of give us some information about how we can protect our children by becoming more knowledgeable about some of the technology that's out there that you may or may not be familiar with, but you're going to want to know about in order to help your children maneuver safely this technology world that they're living in. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen briefly and hand it over to Stephanie, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her work in Richardson and also give us some really valuable information about these apps that we really need to know about. So Stephanie, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Suzanne, and I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this, and I'm excited to be able to help just provide some information for the parents to help keep them informed. This is certainly not all inclusive. There's other apps out there. We just wanted to touch on some of the highlights. So I'm going to work on sharing my screen so we can get started. Okay. So like I said, I've been with the police department for just over 26 years, and been in Richardson the whole time. And about halfway through my career, I got an opportunity to start working in the schools. And I've been at the junior high level for almost all of that. This is, I believe, my 13th or 14th year as an SRO. So I've been an SRO just about as long as half of my career. So at junior high level, most of it in the summers, we help with summer safety camps with elementary age kids. So I do have an opportunity to work with the younger ones as well. And I help out at the high schools as needed as also. So I just wanted to touch on about 15 apps that we're gonna highlight that really every parent should be aware of. Some of them you've probably most certainly heard of, others you may not have. And anything that we highlight today, or anything that you really should know, every app that your kid is tinkering with, playing with, because they may tell you, oh, it's nothing, mom or dad, but unless you really do the research, they could tell you anything. I know that I am not very tech savvy, so I have fallen to that as a parent as well. My child trying to convince me that something was nothing but just, funny videos to watch. And I find out that, well, yes, there's funny videos posted, but they can also chat with people. So that's where we get into trouble. So I'll touch on a few here, and then we'll have questions at the end if anybody has any specific questions. So we'll get started here. Okay, we'll start with TikTok. So most people have heard of TikTok. Obviously, it's a mobile device. It's very popular. And sorry, I'm trying to work on moving some of the stuff out of my presentation way. Forgive me. There we go. So obviously, everybody's pretty familiar with TikTok. I think a lot of people got some entertainment value out of TikTok while we were all quarantined in the spring. And it is used for creating and sharing short videos, which some of them can be really entertaining. The problem with TikTok with our kids is the privacy controls are very limited. So if they're not savvy on what privacy controls are, understand their importance, they may not have them set to their friends only or to their followers. And if they have it public, that means anybody that has a TikTok account can see it. And again, they can chat. So if somebody likes their video, they can start talking with these people. And that could be fine if they're their friends, but it also could be concerning if they're strangers, and they very well could be, especially if they are adults talking to your children. So the users are also, they're not only vulnerable to adult people who might have bad intent, but it also opens itself up for bullying. And sometimes we'll see the cyberbullying that can be related to the TikTok accounts. And then there are sometimes explicit content that are on TikTok that other people post, that if you don't pay attention of who your children are following, they could be following adults posting very adult content. Okay, we'll talk about Snapchat. Sorry, forgive me. There we go. Obviously, Snapchat's very popular with the kids. And when it started several years ago, the kind of misleading information was that, if you sent a picture to someone or a video to someone, it would disappear. The problem is, and the user could control when they sent it, how long they could view it, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. But it's very misleading because what can easily be done, and the kids can do it in like a split second, they cannot control whether the image or the video is screenshot, or they will screen record it if it's a video. Once they've done that, now they've saved it to their device and they can resend it however, whatever format they would like. And again, that really opens themselves up to cyberbullying, and stuff gets sent to half the school in an innocent little video, or maybe an embarrassing video that was meant for a person has been distributed to now half the school. And Suzanne will definitely talk to us later about the consequences of that in the school setting. They have the features that include stories will allow users to view the content for up to 24 hours, and then they go away. But by then, everybody has gotten their screenshot, screen recorded, and done whatever they would like to do with those. Okay, Kik is an app that the kids definitely came on scene several years ago. And the main thing with Kik, and the main problem with Kik, is privacy and anonymity. It's an anonymous app. You can create a username. You can use whatever name you want. A lot of times it's not even a name. It's just characters and different hieroglyphics that only they know, but it can be anyone. And this really lends itself to cyberbullying because it's an anonymous format. And even worse, child predators can create accounts, pretend to be younger people, and start communicating with your children, because it allows direct contact with your child, direct messages. And it does not use your typical text messaging features, as in, through the phone account where a parent can monitor. As long as they have a Wi-Fi connection, they can use Kik and send messages back and forth. So really does have unlimited access to anyone, anywhere, anytime. The problem with Kik is, and a lot of these apps that lend themselves to cyberbullying so well, is back when we were younger and in school, before phones and all these apps hit the scene, bullying was something that it happened at school mostly, or in the neighborhood. The problem was, if you have bullied at school, when you went home, you were away from those people. So you got a break. There was a timeout period where you didn't have to worry about it until you went back to school. Well, now with the current technology, the problem we're seeing is, because most kids have phones, most kids have social media accounts, they never unplug. So they can never get away from their bullies. They never get a break from their bullies. And if they don't report it to either their parents or their schools, it may be going on for a very long time before anyone is aware of it. So that is something that you definitely want to help your children unplug from their technology sometime. And I know Suzanne will probably touch on that. Okay, WhatsApp. WhatsApp allows users to send, they can do text, they can do photos, they can make video calls or video chats. And it is an internet connection. So as long as you have Wi-Fi on your smartphone or your computer, you can use this app. Now, the good thing about WhatsApp is if you've got somebody out of the country that you want to communicate with, it's a way to communicate with them and not have to worry about the fees for messages that are international. So it can be really good. I've used that app personally to keep up with friends and family out of the country. But with that, it also opens up a platform to be connected with people that your children may not know. It works off a contact list, and they can work off a friend's contact list. So if they have a friend that is friends with many people that they may not know, your child could be talking to someone in another location, another country even, and you're not aware of it. That can lend themselves to a dangerous area if we get real serious and start talking about the dangers of sex trafficking and that kind of stuff. Of course, that would be absolute worst case scenario, but it is a danger that we need to be aware of, because sometimes they will befriend your children and they will start grooming them and pretend to be someone their own age, convince them to meet them outside of the home, and then it's a horrible problem to deal with. So keep in mind, as we're talking about these apps, the ones that have geographic locations that are identified and a platform to where they can talk to whomever they would like very easily. Ask.fm. This one I see zero purpose for in a positive way, because the only way I have ever seen it used is through cyberbullying. It's anonymous, so the users create whatever name they would like. It encourages users to allow people that they don't know anonymously to ask them questions and then comment. So this is an absolute gateway for cyberbullying. The kids are putting themselves out there, and with anonymity comes a huge danger for just being beyond mean to each other and cruel. So that is one that I would never let my child have, because I've seen zero benefit out of this app in particular. Now, this calculator percentage app, there are many. This is one of the most popular ones that we see in our area. It is a secret app. It looks like a calculator, but parents, what it is a secret folder, or they call it a vault, and they can hide photos, videos, any kind of downloaded files that they may have, browser history. Like I said, there's one of many. So I put a little website link there, just topbestalternatives.com to calculator/vault. If you just Google this calculator percentage, you'll probably find this article if you're curious. There's many different ones, but this is very popular with our kids in our area. And it is simply an app to hide things from parents, school administrators, and whomever else they might want to keep their stuff secret from. So when they show you or tell you that they've deleted a photo, look for this app on their phone and make sure they've not just stored it in another file. Now we're going to get into some of the social media dating apps. Now, the ones we've discussed previously, I've seen them at the junior high level. Some of the elementary kids that maybe have phones already or will be getting phones in the near future, they're probably most certainly going to be on some of those, especially Snapchat and TikTok. I see the kids on those all the time. We're going to graduate up to maybe the high school level and talk about some of the things that they may run into. And the next several slides are on dating apps. So this Meet Me app is through social media, and it is a dating app, and it allows users to connect based on a geographic proximity. So they will automatically recommend people that are near you according to your GPS location and encourage you to meet people face to face. Now, with children, you can see why that would be a dangerous area, meeting somebody that you have no knowledge of just because they're close to you. So I would definitely be very leery if my child had this app on their phone. And the icons I have attached here are the ones that would, what it would look like if they had it on their phone. Bumble is a dating app that is very similar to Tinder. So you can review profiles, swipe left, swipe right. But it requires the woman to make the first contact. So I guess that's a safety feature that the app designers had built in. But we have had kids, they've used this app to create fake accounts and falsify their age. So they're pretending to be older than they are, and they get out on these dating sites. And like I said, that can end up in a dangerous situation when they're talking to adults. So I would definitely be aware if I saw that on my child's account. Grindr. Now, Grindr is a dating app that's geared specifically towards gay, bi, and transgender people. The users have options. They can chat, they can share photos, and or meet up. This is generally not to start relationships. It is more of a, for lack of a better term, a hookup application. And the connections are recommended based on your smartphone's GPS. So again, it is looking for people right in your area that might be close to you. And this app is usually used by folks that are just wanting to hook up for adult encounters. This Hot or Not, it is literally listed as a hookup app. So it encourages users to rate others' profile, check out people in their area, and chat with strangers. So it is promoting starting things with strangers, and the main goal, and people who are on this app are looking for, again, the hookup, sexual adult encounters with people. So I would be very, very concerned if I saw this on my child's phone somewhere. Badoo is a dating and social networking application, and people can chat and share photos and videos as well. Again, this is another GPS recommended connection. So it's intended for adults only. However, there have been teens that have created profiles using false ages, again, trying to be older than they are. Maybe they think it's fun. Maybe they're really looking for adult interaction. But if you see this, I would definitely talk to my child about it and make sure that they're not participating in this app. Scout, another location-based dating app. Users under the age of 17 are not supposed to be able to share private photos, but again, kids will commonly create false ages and create accounts under false pretenses, which again then would allow them to do those kind of things. And if they're communicating with adults, again, that can be a dangerous area to be in. So Live.me, that is a live streaming video app. It uses GPS location to share videos. Now this allows users to know the broadcaster or the person that posted the video, their exact location. So this is definitely something that child predators monitor, use. You see the last bullet point down there, they can earn coins in order to pay minors for photos. So you absolutely would not want your child to be using this app because I promise you that child predators are watching this and looking for vulnerable young people to be on this app. Whisper is another anonymous social network. It actually promotes that people share secrets with strangers, but it reveals the user's locations. Again, it's using a GPS tracking, and so people can meet up. Now, obviously, if your child or your young adult gets on this website, the danger in this is that people are going to know their location and they're chatting with strangers. That's the whole point of this site, is to share secrets and get into that area, which obviously would be very dangerous for a young person. And this is the last one. This is called Hala, and it actually claims that it's an addicting video chat app. It allows users to meet people from all over the world in just seconds. So you are literally going out there with the intent to talk to people from another part of the country, which could be fun, but it also could be very dangerous waters to be in. And a lot of the people who have used this have reported that they've been confronted with just racial slurs for no reason and explicit content and more. So I would be very leery if my high schooler even had this account. That is the last slide I had, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and throw it back to Suzanne so she can talk more specifically about the cyberbullying and the safety with your kids. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. I know I learned a lot from that presentation, and I'm sure that you did too. So let me now start sharing my screen. And while there are lots of things that we as parents need to be knowledgeable of, and that was so informative. So thank you, Stephanie. We are going to talk a little bit about, before we actually get into cyberbullying, we're going to talk about, because of the environment that we and our students live in, I wanted to just share some information that is going to help our children maneuver successfully with social media. And so there's a wonderful book called Social Media Wellness by Anna Hamayan. I'm hoping I'm saying her name correctly, but I wanted to just share a few tips that she gave on how to work with students and really partner with them regarding their social media use and how to become healthy in that use. But the things that she wanted us to first kind of think about is, why do students use social media? And so, as you can all imagine and probably answer right away, one of the main reasons that students use social media is for socialization. They gain connections there, a sense of belonging and inclusion. But the other important thing to recognize and remember is that our students' brains are under construction. And so it's interesting, I think, that the legal age for being a part of most social media platforms is 13. And it actually coincides with one of the major age ranges of development for our brain as humans. So 13 to 18 is a very crucial age where a lot of things are happening in our adolescents' brains, that they're actually building different parts of their brain that they're going to use for the rest of their life. So all of this is happening, these online connections and just really a sense of identity and belonging is happening all while their brain is under construction. So that's just kind of an interesting thing to recognize and remember as we're working with our children. The things, what do students struggle with around social media use? Well, a few things that she points out in her book is this amplified expectations that our children have. And so I love this kind of example of a selfie and then a tagged picture. So I'm sure that you've seen either your children or maybe you've even done it yourself, where if we're taking a selfie, how we want it to look just perfect. And you've heard examples of, students taking their picture over and over again until it's just that perfect look, where then they find themselves tagged in a picture which is not too flattering or maybe even embarrassing. And so there's this tendency to create a real comparison culture. And unfortunately, because their brains are still developing, they actually are starting to compare their real life to highlight reels, and that's what their expectations of what their life should look like, or what they should be feeling or experiencing. When in reality, we know that all those highlight reels just don't show all the low light reels, if you will, those not so great moments that all of us experience. So they aspire to these really unrealistic expectations. That can be one of the things they struggle with. And then the other thing is they actually almost they experience things twice, so it almost helps them to redefine what socialization is like. So they're experiencing things online and in real life. And again, because of that underdeveloped brain, or it's still in the developing stages, those platforms can lead to conflict, communication happens, but because their skills are underdeveloped, you can see that the problems could just escalate because of that online platform. It also leads to increased anxiety, fear of missing out. If they didn't capture it in a picture, then it's almost like it didn't happen. And it can actually decrease their healthy risk taking and their exploration and just wanting to have fun and be a kid, because who knows who's going to capture that on video or in a picture, and then it's going to come back, to have a negative impact on you. So it does really redefine their socialization. And remember, that's one of the reasons they got on there in the first place. And just to continue with the struggles that students might have around social media use, information overload. It's just too much. A recent survey talked about just how much our students are online, and 24% of teens said that they were online all the time. And 25% admitted to checking their phones within 5 minutes of waking. Over 60 billion messages sent through Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp. And then when we look at Snapchat and YouTube, over 200,000 Snapchat users share snaps every minute. That's pretty crazy. Every minute, YouTube users upload 300 hours of new video. And Instagram users, 1.7 million photos shared. Information overload, a lot to handle. And remember, an adolescent brain in development. So what do students need us as parents, as caregivers, to help them with? Well, one of the things that Anna talks about in her book is really partnering with our students and making it all about them, and really asking them to get involved in really analyzing what their socialization looks like, and really gearing and steering them towards what does healthy socialization look like. So analyzing their online socialization, in their real life. So are these activities energizing or are they draining? So what brings them joy and fuels them and pushes them towards their goals and self-improvement, and what is really draining and self-defeating? And really letting them know that we all have a choice on how we spend our time. We can determine what, how, where, and what to consume regarding content online. And so just empowering them to make choices and really becoming self-aware of what this socialization and social media is actually doing for them personally. And is it helping them to become the young people that they aspire to be? And so with that, we can help them to create some self-regulation, self-management strategies. And so even asking them to think about when they're studying, what is most effective? Should they be keeping their phones, in another room? Maybe even using some of the productivity and time management apps. And I know some of us want to brag about our multitasking, but really encourage monotasking, because really, if we admit it, none of us are really good at multitasking. So just encouraging our students to monotask, and you get even more proficient. And it really reduces stress when we do that. So the other continuation of just self-regulation is help them to schedule daily and weekly digital detox. Like, when in your day are you not going to be connected to your phone? When during the week can we just put all technology aside and detox? And then again, just remember and figure out, what is your why? Why are you moving towards social media, or what makes you grab your phone just instinctively? So really becoming more self-aware in order to really self-regulate and get you in an environment that's really where you want to be, that's helping you move in the direction you want to move. And then students need, just like Stephanie was talking about, they definitely need our help in that overall safety. And that comes to social, emotional, and physical safety, really understanding what healthy relationships look like and what toxic relationship looks like. Those are really important for us as parents to help guide them. And then again, just encouraging them and empowering them to step back and become self-aware of their online interactions. And if things don't go right, or they get that gut feeling that something is not right, kind of creating a plan for them to, what do they do in that environment? And so we as parents definitely want to be partners with our children and helping them just have healthy interactions online. So when we think about social media, and I think you can tell just by what Stephanie was talking about earlier, there definitely is potential for conflict. There's potential for bullying. And so I wanted to spend the next few minutes just talking a little bit about conflict and bullying and how they differ, but they can both be encountered in social media. So when we look at conflict, I think we would all agree that we've all experienced conflict. It is a natural part of life. It can be handled in positive or negative ways. I think we can all recall conflict that in our own lives that have been handled positively and negatively. And then it can also be used in our lives for personal growth and social change. And so because of that can have creative or destructive results. And so you can probably tell just because of the nature of social media and because it is socially dynamic, just like real life is, that conflicts can naturally happen. But not all conflict is bullying. So I wanted just as parents to help us make the distinction between conflict and bullying, because a lot of times behaviors do get labeled as bullying, when in reality, it might be a mutual conflict that we just need to assist our students in helping to resolve. And so we have many opportunities on our campus for mediation or just even at home, just talking through conflict. But conflict is different than bullying. So I wanted to also share with you the definition of bullying, which always includes three distinct attributes. So bullying always involves an imbalance of power. Now that imbalance of power could be social power, emotional power, physical power. I know sometimes just that stereotypical bully, you think of someone big bullying someone small, but that is not necessarily the case at all. So it could be relational power. So whatever that imbalance of power is, that is definitely one of the features of bullying. It's intended to cause harm, could be again physical, emotional, social harm, relational harm, and it's repetitive in nature. It's usually not just a one-time event. Actually, in 2017, you can tell how old I am, Texas redefined bullying. And so Senate Bill 179, also referred to as David's Law, defines bullying as a single significant act or pattern of acts by one or more students directed at another student that again exploits an imbalance of power and involves engaging in written or verbal expression through electronic means, or physical conduct that has the effect or will have the effect of physically harming a student, damaging a student's property, or placing a student in reasonable fear of harm to the student's person or of damage to the student's property, is sufficiently severe, persistent, or pervasive enough that the action or threat creates an intimidating, threatening, or abusive educational environment for a student, materially or substantially disrupts the educational process or the orderly operation of a classroom or school, or infringes on the rights of a victim at school, and includes cyberbullying. And so we actually use this definition within our school district when we are determining whether something is bullying or not. We're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of the presentation, but I think you can see those components of intending to harm, an imbalance of power, and repetitive, but they did add that single significant act, and really a lot of this was redefined because of a cyberbullying case where a young man ended up taking his life. And so they definitely knew that cyberbullying was not just separate from the school, but it could actually create that intimidating, abusive environment within a school. And so they gave schools the right to respond in a corrective and protective way using that definition. So when we look at cyberbullying, let's take a look at actually, I think Stephanie mentioned this too, traditional bullying, while just as damaging, you had some opportunity to get away from that. If it just happened at school, when you went home, you had a little bit of reprieve, some downtime. But the unfortunate thing about cyberbullying and about just all the connectivity that we have with our technology, it can happen any time of the day or night. It can be quickly distributed to a very wide audience. It can be anonymous, which makes it more difficult and sometimes impossible to trace. it can actually be more cruel because it can be manipulated and altered and um, videoed and all of those things. So I think you would all agree that cyberbullying can be extremely damaging to our students and to families. So what are the warning signs of cyberbullying? So how might you know if your student is being cyberbullied, or unfortunately, if they're participating in cyberbullying? In fact, a lot of information that I've read about cyberbullies is because of the nature and the anonymity it can create. Um, Students who may not typically be a bully in real life could potentially become a bully online. So that's why we kind of want to give you the warning signs of both sides of that equation. So your child might be a victim if he or she are experiencing some of these things. If they just unexpectedly stop using their computer, or possibly they are very nervous after receiving a text or an instant message. Maybe they're anxious or fearful about going to school. Maybe after using technology, they're angry, depressed, frustrated, and even avoid talking about what they're doing on their devices. You might notice a change in their daily habits. Maybe their sleeping habits are not good, or their eating has changed, or maybe they have significant mood swings, which we know part of this could be adolescence. But more than one of these, you might want to just really pay attention to and ask more questions about what's going on. And they may even seem to withdraw from family and friends abnormally. So that's possibly a victim of cyberbullying. But let's look at the flip side of that. Our children might be cyberbullying if they quickly switch the screens or close out programs when we walk by, if they're using technology all day or night, if they're really upset when they can't use their technology. And again, if they avoid discussions about what they're actually doing. But if they have multiple online accounts, or you see that they're using accounts that don't even belong to them, then you may be suspicious that there may be more going on than they are giving you information about. So who is hurt in cyberbullying? I think we would all agree that the victim is very impacted by cyberbullying. And so some of the ways that victims are impacted, or things they may be experiencing, are depression and loneliness, maybe an increased anxiety level, maybe because of that comparison culture that social media and this online environment creates, they may develop low self-esteem, negative self-talk, maybe even that physical unwellness because of all the emotional stress and trauma, possibly even suicidal or self-harm thoughts. They may become more isolating. What we've heard from victims of cyberbullying is that it's very dehumanizing. They're objectified and really not even feeling like they're human just in these attacks. They feel helpless against the attacks. And a lot of times that does include not wanting to come to school because they just don't want to, they don't feel like they can do anything about it. So they just don't want to face the people who, are aware that this is happening. Then cyberbullies, they actually are very impacted as well. Like I said, there may be students that are cyberbullying that would typically not be a bully. So, but once it's out there, you can't take it back. It can create some real relation problems with friends, with family. And actually, because of David's Law, it can now really create some legal problems if students are convicted of cyberbullying. There can be legal ramifications as well. And then you think about bystanders. They're not necessarily the victims or the perpetrators, but they may feel pressured to participate and possibly guilty if they do participate. But then again, they're afraid that they may become a target if they're not part of this group. So it's a far-reaching impact and negative in all regards. And so that's why we really wanted to share with you just what are some signs of cyberbullying so you can be aware for your own children. And then we would just encourage you as parents to encourage your students to respond or to take the following actions really to protect themselves. And so if your student receives an abusive message, don't respond, don't reply. That is really what the bully is looking for, is a reaction. And so they may just be encouraging the bully in their response. So not responding is one of the first things you can encourage your students to do. And then encourage them to keep a record or a picture, a snapshot of the messages that were sent, because they will need to provide those messages for the police or the internet service provider or the mobile phone company in order to really trace the activity that's happening. So if you'll keep a record of that, that's really important. Really encourage your students to think before they send pictures of someone or themselves to anyone. Really think about, is this a positive picture? Does this present someone in a good light? Because it can definitely spread, like Stephanie said, it can spread far beyond their circle of friends. So think before you click and send. If your student receives a rude image or text about someone else, do not forward it. You can be breaking the law just as the bully is, and you could be assisting them and just increasing the harm that's been done. So if they receive it about someone else, then they would also want to report it, but definitely not forward it. And then we want all students to know that they have the right to come to school without being harassed. They have the right to be online without being harassed or bullied. So they definitely need to tell someone that they trust. So how can we as parents help? And I know this first one can be a huge challenge, because how many internet capable devices do we have in our homes? But if we can keep those internet capable devices out of their bedrooms, that's one huge step in keeping them safe. And then just having regular conversations about your child's online activities and encouraging them to tell you if they're being cyberbullied or they know someone who is. Encourage them to tell you. And one of the reasons that we found out that a lot of students are hesitant about telling whether they're being victimized, because they're fearful of having their technology taken away. So you can understand, because of what we talked about earlier in the presentation, how connected and how useful they find their technology to be. So they're fearful if they report it to you that you're going to take that away, when you can share with them that you will not, but you want to partner with them in helping them be safe. And so there obviously are software controls, filtering devices, ways to monitor. And so those are just some of the options that you can select to do to help your students. The other things that we can do as parents is really lead by example. I know Stephanie mentioned, just disconnecting and ourselves as parents and having phone-free times is huge in our students, just the example that we set for them. And then partnering with them and coming up with an agreement about how to use their technology is huge. And so I wanted to share with you, it's called Safe Talk. I'm hoping that this works, but it's a collaborative effort on how to establish rules for when you're first giving your child a device. Unfortunately, when devices were coming around, we didn't have the foresight to recognize all the ramifications of that. So I feel good being on the other side, that before we give our students technology, we can actually partner with them in creating the guidelines. So I want to just share with you, it's called the Smart Talk. And what it does is allow you to talk about privacy, about screen time, about social media and respect, apps and downloads, texting and calling. And so what you do is you click on here, and then actually you and your student together come up with how to, and apparently this is not going to work for me, but it's a great interactive tool. So it asks your student their name, it asks your name, and then you collaboratively together create an agreement, and it actually creates a written document for you. So then there's no unexpected expectations. You're both on the same page, and you come up with this agreement together. So it's a really cool tool if you are considering getting your student a device, or even if you already have one. It's great in help setting up boundaries up front, and then establishing, consequences for not living up to those boundaries, and it's in writing. And it really helps you to gain their perspective on even why they're using technology, what they get out of it positively, kind of how they're feeling using it. And so if we can listen to them and gain their perspective, and then in the process also help them to understand your perspective as a parent and how you're wanting to protect them. But those open open dialogues are huge in just assisting your children in being successful online. Just like our example talked about, leading by example and disconnecting, some of the reasons why we all as human beings need to disconnect is just that alone time allows us the emotional space to experience our own self and self-reflection. It gives us an opportunity to grow our confidence in being alone and just feeling good about being ourselves. And it also encourages self-free and computer-free time for family and for friends. And without being said, I mean, it allows more time for sleep, for self-reflection, and just for self-awareness. So disconnection from technology is something I think we could all help ourselves and help our students with. I would encourage us to, as parents, to parent just like we do in real life. Parent, if you've got boundaries in real life, then you're going to have boundaries online. Participate in healthy conversations with your children. Again, set limits. Stay up to date on technology, and really help students identify unhealthy technology use. Be there, listen, support, encourage, empower, and empathize with your students. So I wanted you, just in closing, to know what we as the district do regarding bullying and bullying reports. We definitely prohibit bullying, cyberbullying, and harassment of any student. We take all reports very seriously. And so as parents, I want you to know that you may report bullying just with a phone call, in writing with an email. We also have an official form that can be found on our website. I will tell you that it's moving locations on our website because we're about to launch a new version of our website. So it will be up on our student services website very soon when our new website is launched. But you can always find a form in your campus's front office, or again, an email or a phone-in report is just as valid. And even if you don't have the form, no problem. And then we always want our students to know that they can report bullying to any trusted adult on campus. We do have an anonymous way of reporting both at our elementaries and junior highs as well as high schools. Right now, our elementaries and junior highs, they have a bullying box that all students know where that location is, and it's regularly checked. And so they can report anonymously if they choose to, or our senior high students, or junior high students, sorry, excuse me, our high school students can use anonymous alerts. It's an app. It's also on the district webpage, and so they can report bullying anonymously. So the other thing I want you to know about bullying reports is that all of our staff is trained in bullying prevention, and all of our administrators investigate all allegations of bullying. And so even when an event does not actually meet that state definition of bullying, the campus always puts plans in place to support student safety and success. So I've been involved on campuses where maybe there was a bullying report made and it didn't quite meet the definition of bullying, but there were behaviors that were uncovered that were not conducive to student success, to student safety. And so there were plans put in place to address those. So just because it may or may not be bullying doesn't mean that the school is not going to respond in a positive, proactive, restorative, and supportive manner. The things we also have regarding prevention and intervention in bullying, our school counselors do an excellent job of providing guidance lessons in bullying prevention and reporting. In fact, they have a series of lessons called Time to Act, which stands for Acknowledge, Care, and Tell. And so students are trained to recognize when a student is struggling or in trouble and acknowledge that that is the situation and care enough to go tell a trusted adult. So not only do we want students to report bullying that they're experiencing themselves, but if they see a friend experiencing bullying, to tell an adult as well. The things we do on the proactive side is we really want to equip our students with self-awareness, self-control, developing empathy, and building healthy relationships, all which are very preventative of bullying in nature. And so all of our campuses, elementary through 8th grade, have SEL lessons on a regular basis where all of these things are taught. And then our high school peer helpers and peer mediators work with students both individually as well as collectively in providing training on refusal skills and how to be a good friend and how to resolve conflict. And then our campuses, whether it's a counselor teaching coping strategies or it's a mentor, do work with students, all students impacted by bullying, whether it's the victim or the student that is exhibiting the bullying behavior. So we just want you to, as parents, to know that we partner with you, and we want to partner with you in keeping our students safe. And so I wanted to provide these resources that also have some great information that you can use for your own families. That Smart Talk is in there. There's some opportunities to sign up for regular emails about the latest apps. And so we will be sharing this video. This actual presentation is being recorded. And so we will be sharing this presentation with all of you who have attended, or if you want to get out your phones right now and take a picture of this page. We want these resources to be helpful tools as we partner with you on keeping our children safe. And so I am going to stop talking because we've got about 5 more minutes left. And so I wanted to, first of all, give you mine and Stephanie's email addresses if you have any particular questions that you want to email us about. But I think that Miguel has been monitoring the chat, I'm hoping. And we're going to see, I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to see if we have any questions that we might need to address before we wish everyone a good night. So Miguel, do we have any questions?
I didn't see any, but there were some great comments and some great other, suggestions about, other resources. Even Netflix has an interesting documentary on social media. So
On the
I've
social
seen that.
dilemma?
Yeah, social dilemma.
Actually,
So,
it's interesting that you said that, because all of the counselors, our counseling director has made an opportunity for on our staff development day coming up that all the counselors are going to watch that. And so it'll be some really interesting discussion. So thank you for bringing that up.
well, we want to thank our attendees, because we had one of them bring it up. So thank you so much for that.
Awesome. Yes. And thank you for everyone who attended. We hope that this information was valuable. It sounds like it was. And so just know that if you felt this information was valuable, be looking for it to be a part of Parent University very soon. And you can share it with all your friends who were not able to make it tonight. So Miguel, do we have anything else, or we want to say good night? And I want to say thank you to Teresa for providing our interpretation. She's done a great job behind the scenes. And so thank you so much, Teresa, for your expertise and knowledge. And thank you, Stephanie. I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation and learned so much. And so parents, we just want to continue to partner with you in keeping our kids safe. And we appreciate your interest and your investment in your children, because we know you care about them, and we just want you to know that we do too. And we again want to partner with you. So thank you for your time, and we will wish everyone a good night.
Yes, we've got this.
We've got this. Thank you.